All right, sound check. So looks like you guys can hear me. Let's fix this so you guys can see me talking. All right. Get all this stuff set up like we want. All right. Should we get going here soon in a minute? El Nagger, how's it going? Check passed. Nice. What were you taking? What was your test, or what was your certification you were working on? If you don't mind me asking, I'm curious as I keep working on cleaning all these up. Where am I at here? Yeah, I don't want to touch that. Okay. Yeah, what were you working on? What was the check passing? Was that a certification or something? Oh, my check. Yeah. Good. I just got done wrestling for about an hour, a little over an hour, with the guys for jiu-jitsu. So we were doing our 4th of July open mat rolls. So the wife's downstairs cutting some family members' hair because she never takes a day off, even on the 4th of July. So we are. I'm going to be on for a little bit, and I'm going to be cleaning up some labs and stuff that I'd started to put together, and I think I'm just going to try to hammer these out and get them done. I might also switch over to some high-performance compute stuff because I have a lot of stuff to do for work, and I'm out like next Wednesday through, so the 8th through the 28th, I'm out of work, so I'm going to be like out on vacation. So because of that, I want to get a bunch of stuff done because I'm kind of training these guys for work and getting that all caught up. What is this one? Which dashboard is this one supposed to be? We did logs. We did that one. We did this. What is this one going to be? I guess this can just be our normal lab servers because I do need to clean a bunch of these ones up. So this will remind me to go clean them up or to close them down because there's a bunch of these that are kind of on their end of their useful life here. So. Okay, so that'll remind me that, but we'll get to all that. Also, I built out an MCP server yesterday. I'd never done that before. If you guys have ever played with MCP at all, one of my buddies needed one, so I decided to, he said, hey, I could leave this up in Amazon for like, I don't know, 30 or 40 bucks a month, or can you just host it for me? And I was like, yeah, I'll host it for you. So I gave him that. Agent, how's it going over on the YouTube side? Yeah, I'm a legend in my own mind, that's for sure. But yeah, so I got all my working out, all my wrestling done for the day. I'm gonna leave this up. The wife told me to leave this up so you guys could see some of our patriotic stuff sitting over in our shop. We got a little shop on fourth wall, which is kind of cool, I think. There's some book stuff there too. We'll just leave that running in the background as we kind of go through the stuff we're doing today. Let me check our Discord. Oh, I meant to show you guys this. We've always got, ignore what's going on in our different channels. There's a bash study group starting. Oh shoot, I think this was supposed to start already, but maybe the guys didn't make it today. And then Linux from Scratch is tomorrow. And then also tomorrow, I'm going to be running a little Linux admin engineer practice interview. So if you guys have never seen that before, that one's, we got 11 people say they're coming. We'll probably have more. But what we do is we put you in the hot seat, and I got to come up with some more questions. But the questions tend to look like this. Where are my questions for this? Here's my ProLug interview questions, but I'm going to add some more. I might even make some more today while we're sitting around. But I've got a bunch of technical questions where I might just ask you any of these. And the idea is in front of other people, which is kind of hard, especially strangers, you talk through some of what you know. Like I say, what can you use to see all the processes touching port 22 on your server? Now that has a few different types of interpretations, but I would leave that open for somebody to explain to me. Then there's troubleshooting. There's operational type stuff, like when you're sitting there working in an environment, what are you doing? That kind of stuff. And then there's just some personality stuff, like people do weird stuff and how do you respond, right? Like some weird things to think about. But these are all things that, we do kind of want to know in an interview. I mostly do technical interviews for people. I don't do a lot of this other stuff. But I wrote the other stuff up so people have it. And then, yeah, we just go through it. You get about 10, 15 minutes in the hot seat, and then we sit around and we give you a little bit of feedback, what we think you could do better. Sometimes you guys will sit there and you'll immediately know what you're like, oh shoot, I don't even know what that is. And then maybe we just sit there and troubleshoot it right there. But for the most part, this is one of these things where if you've never sat around and talked about the things, it is useful to talk through things because you're going to have to do it in an interview, right? I mean, you're going to have to talk to somebody someday. And on the other side of it, the days of us just being locked in a basement and keeping servers running are long gone. They keep us out in the light, right? We have to go talk to people. We have to send emails. We have to respond to trouble tickets. So our ability to articulate what we do is very, I mean, it's a very important skill as an engineer. I tell you guys all the time, you'd be the smartest engineer in the room, but if you can't write an email, people are going to kind of think you're dummy. And that's not great. But yeah, happy 4th of July. Absolutely, Agent. I mean, it is 4th of July, so hopefully everybody is celebrating in any way that they see fit, even if it's just spreading memes around on the internet. That's always a good way to do things. What was I working on? Okay, so what I wanted to do was pull up. There's a few different things that we could be working on in here. So mainly, I think I was over here. We were talking about getting the job. So what we were going to do was work on some of these labs. So we've got these labs. These labs feed directly over into killercoda, which one of my favorite things to show you guys on the web is killercoda, right? Particularly, switch this over to dark mode so it's not blowing everybody's eyes up. Particularly if you go to my killercoda site, which is all free. Everything on there's free. You can go to any of my labs in here and try to learn as much Linux or Ansible or whatever things there are, right? But one of the ones that we've been working on is the automation stuff, right? And I have automation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? I've got up through 10, but we need to start working on these next ones. So 11 is update and patch systems, right? So we're going to go through the same process of building out a werewolf server like we did, but now we're going to patch the systems. And the way that it looks, I'm not giving this, not doing a full walkthrough of this right now, but this is kind of the process of what we're going to do for that lab, right? Here's kind of the automation course. Now I did this with the guys back in January, but we didn't ever record this one for YouTube. So probably after we get it all cleaned up in the lab, which is again what I'm kind of working on now, we'll come back and we'll record this one on YouTube because this is all put up there. D Private Roberts, how's it going? Hopefully this is useful. We're not doing any one particular lab right now, but I'm building the labs out. So we're not doing the labs necessarily. However, this is unit 11 lab down here in the automation section. So like if you wanted to do the other automation labs that are done, you could go here and do those ones if you wanted. So we have the first 10, and those are all recorded on YouTube as well. But we're gonna start lab 11. But this is what the presentation looks like. If I was giving the presentation right now, it would look like this, right? We'd talk a little bit about how you get a hold of me, what we did last week, which was hardening boxes, not necessarily patching them, but hardening them as we first build them. And then that was the old system build process. The old system deployment process might look like that, right? We did that already. How do we secure an image and harden it? That kind of stuff. But then now this week we're talking about patching servers, right? And there's really two ways to patch servers. We can patch them live as they sit if they're stateful nodes, and we'll do that in that lab. But also we can patch them. We can patch an image and then push an image out in the case of like stateful nodes or stateless nodes. So we're going to do the stateless nodes for that as well. I say case of like, yeah, not lake. All right. So this week will kind of look like that. And then the overview, this is what we talked about, how we push stateful nodes forward, how we push stateless nodes forward. And it kind of looks like this, like in stateful node patching, you download the patches, you push them into like a dev environment over here, maybe the first week of a month. And then when you've passed whatever tests you want to do in your dev environment, you move them up to test and maybe experimental or QA or whatever you want to call them. And then when you're ready, you move them over into the different prod environments as your schedule allows, right? That's kind of how stateful node patching works, right? But stateless node patching is a little different because you download patches, build patches into a cloned image, you set the dev image, and then you reboot them, right? And when they reboot, they come up clean. Then you do all your passing validations and stuff, set that test experimental build into the patch or whatever next system and reboot those nodes, validate them, and then you move them forward. So all you're doing in those cases are moving the patches forward each time, right? And then you validate on the running systems and you stand by to boot back to an old image if you need to. In this other one, you need to roll back through some other method to get back to an older image. Either you had a snapshot of the virtual machine, or it may be like a bare metal reinstall. If you don't have, if you patched forward, you may be able to roll back inside of like DNF, but it's not going to be super clean. Never. So almost always we want to like have a snapshot or something that we can redeploy, and we have tools that'll do that. There's bare metal backup tools that'll repush, but there's always danger when you do that too in a system. So stateful node patching is always, I mean, it's an older way of doing things, right? We don't really do a lot of stateful patching. We definitely don't do any of that in container space. We just build new containers, right? But anyways, and then this says stateless node patching. Well, it's really redeployments at that point. You're not really patching servers anymore. You're deploying a new version of the image, right? So, and then I talk about individual services. This is how we do it in Kubernetes. Some of you guys have seen like my blue-green labs. This is an actual lab up in killercoda that you could go do that shows you how to go from like blue to a green deployment. Very easy to switch a label inside of a service. And then Canary or one box deployments. I also have labs on this. So that's over in the Kubernetes section. So if you go back up one here and you went down into Kubernetes, I don't have a lot of Kubernetes labs, but I have a blue, green, and a Canary deployment, which actually make you do these two things right here. These are the two things that go on in those labs. So something to think about for some of you that are interested in that stuff. Automation Labs. All right. So anyways, we're over here going on this, and then questions. All right, so that's my kind of write up of this. We need to then put the lab together for this. So let's look at our assets and let's see what our assets are telling us to do. This is, we pulled in some Ansible from like a web server, web deploy type thing. So we might not want to use that. Let's see what we have in this other one. We have some host examples. All right, none of those assets are probably going to be useful for us, so we won't worry about any of those ones. Let's come down here. Let's see what this is going to look like then. All right, those are all old assets. We really don't care about them. Let's see what this thing says to do. So it says to build out Werewolf. So we're going to build out the Werewolf tool. Okay, we can do that. And then we'll verify that Werewolf's there. And did we pull down an image for this one? I think here we build down Rocky 9. Okay. And then we're going to cat etsy release, verify the kernel OS that you're on, shell in there, check some things out. Okay, cool. We can do all that stuff. And then we should see the cheroots. Okay, that's stuff that we can do still if we wanted to. But now we're going to make Ansible cheroots and add these values. So that's right, my Rocky image. Yep. And then we're going to go and we're going to switch all of this. So all this down here is going to change in this lab. So we're going to set up the environment for Stigs. We don't want to do that anymore. Download segmentation tool. Nope, we're not going to do that anymore. Nope, we're not going to do any of that. We're not going to do any of that. Not going to do any of that. Not going to do any of this crap. Okay. So we are going to build the cherooted file for that. We are still going to execute the playbook like this. And this will be update. No. Update.yaml. All right. So we're going to say write a simple update for DNF in Rocky for Rocky 9 image, or for the my Rocky image. Okay, and that's going to look like this. I'm going to just say whoops. Oh gosh. My hands hurt so bad from doing jiu-jitsu all week, like I can barely even type right now. It's like they're severely stiff. Wait, what happened? Really appreciate what you're doing for stream. It's not new to this, but your stream's been really nice to watch some things go through for the fundamentals. Yeah. I try to stick to the fundamentals. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, I think the fundamentals are key for being good at systems work, for sure. Fundamentals get me through a lot of stuff, so that's why I try to show them to you guys. And it's really easy as engineers to get down into one thing and to miss the fundamentals in some other thing, which is why that's one of the reasons I try to surround myself with other engineers that are good at these other things. So even if I'm good at networking, which I kind of am, I may be weak in all these other little areas. So maybe I want to, to ask somebody how that works or something. So yeah, so I do think I think engineers are better together, right? Like it's like apes together strong, right? Is that little joke about that? But it's true that I think engineers that hang out with other engineers tend to sound more like engineers, right? Like we hang out and do these things. So let's get this one. Let's build this one out real quick, and then we'll go test it here. Inside our playbook. So add the following lines to the playbook, and it's going to look like this. This one won't be an exec, but we're going to go steal one of our other Ansible labs on patching, where I'm pretty sure I have this already written out. Here's our update, right? An update looks a lot like this. So this is actually pretty much what an upgrade of servers would look like. So we'll go here, and we'll go ahead and get out of here because we don't need that. And we will paste that. Hosts is not going to be hosts. Hosts is going to be, in this case, what did I call it up here? Cheroots. So the cheroot for this environment is CHROTS. Now, we could do my little trick, right? Some of you guys have seen my little trick, and maybe I should put this in the lab because I think this would be super useful for people to learn how to do if they don't. But we could say host could be, and we do something like this, say survey hosts, right? And that's going to be the name of our variable. And we know that the name that we want for the host group is cheroots, like this, right? So then down here, as we call the play later, we're going to give extra vars, and survey hosts is going to be equal to, we do it like this if we want, survey hosts is going to be equal to cheroots. Now, you might say, Scott, why'd you bother to do that when you could have just hard coded in the word cheroots right there, and everything would have touched everything like it needed to? Because, and I've said this in other streams, I've had really, really smart engineers that I've worked with, really, really good dudes that are really good at Linux. They've been around a long time. They're sharp, but they don't like understand some of the stuff in Ansible. So they'll just run playbooks, and they don't know how to limit this down. So like if this was all, which some people leave all in there, that's very dangerous in the corporate world, and they'll just run it against a whole inventory of servers, and that's a problem. So by doing this, if you didn't know how to run my playbook and put an extra var in there to give a host group right here, it's almost like you don't have a key to my car. If I leave my car unlocked and you go sit down in it, well, good luck. Unless you're like some action hero movie guy and you know how to do all the other stuff and get in, right, and turn it on. But you can't do that with this. What I'm doing is I'm basically I'm breaking this if you don't logically know how to call it. And I don't do that to be difficult. I do that because I've seen really good engineers in other capacities completely break shit in prod because they didn't know what they were doing. And it can be really bad. I'm telling you guys, one time when I was at AAA many years ago, we would have been on the news because all the AAA would have went down. And that wouldn't have been good for the company, right? That would have been bad customer-facing downtime for sure. And the only thing that saved us was the server he ran it on crashed. But it was baselining all of our stuff that was out there. And if you guys know anything about, you can't baseline live production servers to security standards. You basically get what you get, and then you redeploy new ones with the standards. If you ever try to harden to a standard, like if some CISO comes in a company and goes, harden all these boxes tomorrow, I mean, that sounds wonderful, right? That's the world of, magical unicorns and rainbows and stuff. But in the real world, if you do that, your servers are all going to crash. They're all going to go down. They can't. You can't be. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to. It's almost like they have to be. and you know, maybe you do, you know, 99 of those and it works, but I'm telling you, something's going to crash that system. Something's going to take it down. You turn on SE Linux on boxes that aren't ready for that and haven't been tested with that in prod, you're going to take customer facing downtime, and that's not a great policy. I don't think any CISO would ever do that, but I mean, we hope. Anyway, so we'll execute this against the shrouded environment. Was it run? Does it break? Oh, so let's change these questions. Does it run? And what does it show? What does run and what does it show? Okay, because we just want to see this work. All right, we're gonna remove all this out because we're not gonna say that. Can you exec into the shell and verify that that it has recently been updated, right? And that process is going to look like this. It's actually a process back here where I made you guys do an exec in there. Where's that? I think it's in 2. I make you actually exec in there just to see what's going on. So we're going to do an image shell like this, right? Boom. It'll look like. And then validate. So shell. Can you check into the shell and verify those recently been updated? And then validate the changes. That's going to be like this. You're going to do like a plane. Man, my hands hurt. I mean, I'm not complaining. Or I'm not blaming that for my bad typing. I'm definitely complaining, but I'm not blaming that for why my typing's bad. My typing's bad just because I'm getting older. But my hands definitely are killing me. We should be able to do DNF history, and that should do it. All right, so let's take this. Let's go see what step 4 looks like. Step 4 would be to harden it and done all these other things. Let's get rid of step 4 out of this one completely. We're not going to need that one in here. Step 4 is gone. We're going to go into the foreground and the JSON here. This is going to be lab 11, update and patch systems. We've done all that. We don't need step 4 anymore, so we're going to pull step 4 out. We technically don't need really any of these assets, but we'll just leave them in. Who cares? Kubernetes 2 node. That's right. Patch a Linux image. That is what we're doing. We're going to download and prepare. So we're doing all the regular stuff first too, but we are going to patch a Linux image. Do we want to? Hold on. Let me see. So the last one was patch a live Linux server. So you know what? I do need that back. So let's see if there's a way for me to. Well, I guess this is the easiest way to do it. We'll just go grab. Wonder if there's a way for me to undo all the way out here. There we go. Oh, we'll pull this all back. Edit, undo. All right. I feel like patching a live Linux server. Maybe everybody knows how to do that already. Yeah, we won't worry about that in the automation one. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. That'll be fine. Get out of here. All right. We'll take him out. We've got all that. So we've got all the things that we probably need for this one. We've installed Ansible. We fixed its name. Let's do Control S to save all these. Let's save this. All right. Let's do something we have not done in a long time in our environment, which is push this up. We're going to push this up into the environment, and then we're going to pull out our killer coda. We're going to go look at this. And we're going to go see if we can get this to work. All right. That's fine. Go Prolog Labs. Updated. Oh, geez. Oh, shoot. I gotta, hold on. I gotta pull everything down from the other one because somebody had added lab 112, and I forgot about that. 3Code Warrior, how's it going? We are just hanging out, messing with labs right now. Yeah, one of our other guys put that one in. Okay. Let's pull this all down. I have not pulled this up in a while. Enter commit message. Updated 11. Control S. Okay. And we should still be able to commit our changes and push this up. Let's give it a second here. Trying to think. All right, come on, system. There's no reason to be this slow about all this. I don't even remember making any changes to this other one. That HPC deploy one. I don't even remember making changes to that. All right, come on. All right, let's make sure I want to pull everything down first before because I'm pretty sure I have the other one from, where's that other one at? Over in Linux Labs 1.0. Where's that one at? Grafana Ally. Okay, yeah, there it is, 112. We have that. That's good. And then we'll sync. Should be fine. All right. So if that's good, if that's all done, then I should be able to come over here and refresh this, and we should see 11. But I'm wondering if we'll see all the other ones busted because we did put them in. No, not yet. Let's go up one. We'll watch it actually pull over here. Yeah, I thought that. Oh shoot! Yeah, there's a busted. Automation Labs are busted. All right, let's go find out what's wrong with them. It's almost guaranteed to be over here, and it's almost guaranteed to be in this one over here. But we can check this. See if there's something wrong here. No, there's nothing wrong there. 3 patch a Linux image. Okay. So let's pull all these off for now, because I don't know what their behavior is in this page. Like I don't know how they. Oh, motherfucker. Okay. I'll just leave that out of the way over there. And Control S. Oh, fix extra labs, whatever. Because they're not built yet, so I think that's why that's showing like that, because it's calling 5 other labs that I haven't built yet. So yeah, maybe I pulled one extra thing off the array. Oh, you're right. I did pull one extra thing off. That's exactly right. That's it. There we go. There we go. You're right. There we go. Nobody else really looks at those but me. That's what it was. There you go. Sync it, push it up. Do I have one more? Oh, you're right. Man. Yep. Sorry, guys. I don't do a lot of JSON by hand, so text JSON. Oops. All right, boom. All right, push that up, and then that should come up. There we go. I didn't even see I pulled all that stuff off the bottom, and I didn't even think to fix the last part. There it is. There's the Automation Labs. So it's very possible I just said I'll include that last. All right, let's go through this lab real quick. So if anybody wants to do this one with me, let's make sure the lab still works. Here's the lab, and we'll run through it real quick. I haven't tested it yet, so if it's busted, I take no blame yet, because it's not really production ready. It's just out there, right? It's not really ready yet. All right. App design is part of the larger set of instructions. So decided to deploy Linux in a modern container-based stateless way. That's true. Verify Ansible, install Werewolf, and prepare the environment. Okay. So our first one is check the Ansible version. This will wait until Ansible comes up. Then we're gonna build out Werewolf. So the newer version of Werewolf, we might be able to switch this up and go get a newer version of Werewolf. And when we do that newer version of Werewolf, we might not need, because the newer version of Werewolf was going to change out the version of Go that they needed. So we might not need any of this Go stuff anymore. So let's just run through it and see if it works. Because what we originally had to do was downgrade the version of Go that was on the Ubuntu boxes, because Werewolf was using an older version. But I was sitting in a Werewolf meeting 2 months ago, and they were talking about they were going to be using the newer Go. So they were going to be moving all their stuff forward. So since we pulled the newest version of Werewolf, we should hopefully bypass that problem. We'll just go through the whole process just to see what it looks like. So yeah, if anybody wants to do it with us, hop in that lab. Man, again, hands super hurt. And I haven't had lunch yet, but the wife's going to grab me lunch. She's going to go over to a place near us called Japan Express, which is pretty good. And they do the best spicy teriyaki chicken in town. So we get some spicy teriyaki chicken. That should be good. That's pretty good for 4th of July, right? That was, I don't know if you guys saw, like 4th of July it was pretty big over there in Japan. They blew a bunch of fireworks, did all these light displays and stuff. It was pretty cool. Obviously, if you're in the U.S., you probably celebrate that more than other parts of the world, but we're pretty big on it. All right, so we'll fix this as we go along if there's anything busted. All right, so we've got our stuff up. Let's check Ansible. Got a version of Ansible on there. Let's remove the local Go. Let's purge Go, and we'll install a newer version of it. That's what we're doing here, right? Install make and git first, and then we'll install a version of Go. And we were using an older version. That's why we had to go download it. We extract it, put it into the right path on the system. Once that comes up, and then we check our Go version, and it's 1.23. Yep, cool. Now we can clone Werewolf down, go into Werewolf, and we should be able to make it. Now this takes a few minutes to build. We'll CD down into Werewolf, we'll make it. And it'll just make sure that it's got all the stuff that it needs. And again, it's possible we don't need to do any of that other stuff anymore. But it looks like there's no errors. I don't see any errors. Yep. And we're just going to time our make install to see how long it goes through everything and builds everything, right? That's not, you don't have to do that kind of stuff, but if you're building a server out and there's ever a chance that some other engineer is going to have to build it out, it's good to have like how long the time took for things. I like doing it in labs, because then you can compare and go, well, why did mine take 15 minutes and then fail, but Scott's only took 5 minutes when he did his? There's probably something missing, right? There's probably something different between either my steps or something that I had assumed would be in the environment when you got there. Maybe you got a different version. Like something has changed because things are dramatically different than what they should be, right? So we're just making sure that the environment still works, right? This is kind of what we're doing with this lab. Also making sure that everything makes sense. How long did the build take? Why might you want to record it? Well, I was just explaining why you might want to record it, but it's good to know how long something takes in an environment to build. Because if you give it to some other engineer and you're out on vacation and the whole system crashes and they have to rebuild something, like your steps should be enough that somebody doesn't just hit Control C 15 minutes in because they don't realize it's going to take a few more minutes, you know. And I've seen, and you might say, oh, do people really do that? Yeah, I mean, admins, people like that, when they're pressure and there's people watching and it seems like it's taken an hour for something to happen, even though it's only 15 minutes. Yeah, you want them to know like the time that it took when you did it, right? So that's my thoughts on it. That's just from like doing this for a long time. And it's like, it's a simple command. Just throw time in front of things and then you get all this information back. It says if werewolf's installed correctly, you're ready to move to the next step. Do not start the werewolf service. Yeah, we don't start the werewolf service in this lab. We just build werewolf. And the reason we do that is because then we have all the werewolf commands. We can't start werewolf in this lab environment because we don't control DHCP. If we controlled DHCP in this lab, we could start werewolf and we could kick the other node over and bring it up as a werewolf server. But we're kind of limited in the killercoda labs in that we don't own all the systems, so we can't do all that. But you can still build werewolf out and see, you know, like kick the tires on it, play with its images, play with stuff locally. You just can't deploy the things. So you can do a lot of the things that are needed. I think a lot of things that'll actually show you how it works. You just won't be able to do the final little piece or whatever. So, yeah. This thing's taking its time. I think it took a few minutes. Yeah, it says right here, this next step will take some time. Feel free to step away for a few minutes. And then I didn't give how long it took here, but I seem to recall this taking like 6 or 7, maybe even like 8 minutes. So it could be a little bit of time running right here. If we find anything spelled incorrectly or just doesn't work, we'll go fix it over here in real time. We're actually on this step right here. This is where we're at the bottom of this. So if something like here didn't make sense, then we would come in here and we would fix it in real time. When we pass this one, it's going to pass by doing a WWCTL image list and validate that it can do some of the werewolf commands in the system. That's what's going to happen. Then we're going to move over to step 2. We'll start working on step 2 next. And this is the one. We didn't really change anything with this yet, but we'll see. But this one's pretty much a push from the last lab. You're doing the same stuff. You're going and downloading a Rocky 9 image into this. Then you're verifying the images where it loaded in Werewolf, and then we'll inspect the image and test that we can update it, and then we'll verify the location of the shrouded environment that Werewolf stores location in. So we're going to touch all of those pieces. Oh, this thing's still over here compiling. Then yeah, we'll download the Werewolf Rocky 9 image, and we'll put it into our system as my Rocky image. That's what we're going to do. So this should be one line here. See how long that takes. Then we'll test that the image has been loaded. We'll do WWCTL, or some people say Werewolf Cuddle or WW Cuddle. I don't care which you use. I use WWCTL, but some people call that Cuddle, which is fine. Check your kernel image and version of the OS that we're running. You know, uname-r cat etsy. Well, it's still going over here. And then drop into the shrouded environment through Werewolf's image shell and verify that the kernel and version of the OS you're on. So you'll see that you're still in the original kernel, but since you've shrouded down into a lower environment, you're going to have a different release. You're going to be actually in a Rocky 9 box on top of an Ubuntu kernel. So it's kind of interesting. All your commands are going to come off of that shrouded environment then. And then you're going to be able to go pull things and see things. And yeah, this is what we do here. Then step 3 is really where the automation comes in, where we can go and we can push an update to that image. We're doing the simplest update ever. We're just doing a DNF update, but let it happen, you know, see it happen. It'll be good. If you've never updated a server and you've never done it through automation like that, it's good to see. And well, and technically you're doing it against a server image. You're not even doing it against a real server because you're not pushing it out live to the server. And we do it sometimes in the lab here. So if you guys wanted to see it, I can show you guys what it looks like in the home lab too against our images. But let's let this keep going. It's taking its time. Yeah, go smoke them if you got them. I can drop over here in my just chatting while it's running. No, I'm just kidding. I'll leave it up so we can watch it happen. But this is my little just chatting thing when I'm just kind of hanging out with you guys now. Although I don't know if this thing has. I don't think I ever put the like. I don't think if you guys talk, it shows up in here. So I probably need to add that. Let me make a new source. Hold on. Add a source. What is that? I think it's like a media capture. Nah. What is that source? No, it's not that type of capture. What is a screen capture? Could be a window capture. Yeah. Not that either. Add existing Twitch chat. There you go. Something like that. I put something like that in there. You guys talk to me while we're hanging out here. There you go. All right. I'll leave it over here so we can watch it. All right, it's done. It took 5 minutes and 45 seconds, right? And that's, again, might be useful to you. Might be something that's fun to know about or whatever. So let's keep going with the next part of the lab. So it's going to check internally, does it work? And yep, and it says your team needs a new version of Rocky Linux to deploy to nodes Werewolf will control. Okay, that's what we would do in the high performance compute space. So let's download a Rocky 9 image. Let's verify that the image is loaded in the Werewolf. Let's inspect the image and test that we can do things to it, maybe update it, and then verify the location of the shrouded environment that Werewolf stores the image location in. So that's a useful thing to know, because you don't actually need to use Werewolf to shroud into the environment and change things. However, Werewolf is the way that we tend to use it, because Werewolf is specialized for that. All right, and again, if you guys need to know more about Werewolf or want to learn about how we use that in the high performance compute space, you can watch. I got a video specifically for that. And I actually recorded it for the Werewolf user group a few months back, maybe like 8 months back. I did that for them. So real quick, we're gonna download an image from Werewolf Rocky Linux 9, and we're gonna call it my Rocky image inside of this Werewolf cluster. We're building a test little Werewolf cluster inside of killercoda, because they give us lab time for free. So we're gonna go and build out like this little image to see how it works. Okay. Because again, I can't emphasize enough how much I think killercoda is one of the best free things on the web. I think killercoda is just they give you free 1 hour at a time lab environments where you guys can just do Linux stuff. And if you're not doing Linux stuff, that's a pretty good deal. If you want to get into Linux and you say, well, Scott, I can't get any time, I can't get any experience on anything. Well, here's a place to go do it without ever having to put on your laptop or have an old server laying around. As long as you have a browser, if you could watch me on something, you could go do killercoda. And I even tested, you could do it from your phone. Although typing would be a little slow, I think, on your phone. But some of you guys probably do that faster than me. All right, look, we've downloaded it all. Linux hacks or stuff. How's it going, man? Hopefully this stuff's useful to you. Linux, we are just, I said useful, but I didn't say it very well. We are just working through, I mean, it's 4th of July. The wife's downstairs cutting some family members' hair, so I'm hanging outstairs. I'm like up in my little bell tower hiding from everybody. I told him I got back from wrestling, wanted to go do some setting up of stuff. And what I'm trying to do is just get the last of the automation lab set up. I have 11 to do, which is pretty much done. We're just testing it. 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I have 5 other ones to do than this. All right, look at where it's going to go put it. It says creating an image for my Rocky image, var local Werewolf provision images there. But now we're also going to have a shrouded environment where we can go and look at this image as it's been downloaded. So let's go through our lab here. We've downloaded that. How long did it take? We'll know here in a second. And we're going to test that the image has been put into there. So mine was done in real time in 6 minutes. Okay, yeah, mine was 5:45. Yours was 6 minutes. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's good. And I'm glad you're doing it, because if you guys have never played with Werewolf, it's a fantastic tool for this. The download was 2 minutes and 17 seconds, so you'll get different speeds and various stuff. Let's check our image list, and it says it loaded up into Werewolf. Werewolf sees my Rocky image. Cool. Can I go and check my current kernel? That's the kernel on the box I'm on. And the version of the server I'm on is Ubuntu 2404. Perfect. All right, so I've got these systems here. Oh man, killercoda. When I got my CKA and my CKAD a few years back, I did hundreds of hours on killercoda. I also built my own internal lab, but there's just so many stuff out there that you can just, yeah. And I have Linux labs and Ansible labs and some Kubernetes labs and some HashiCorp labs, and there's stuff from me, but there's also hundreds, if not thousands, of other projects that people have done. One of our guys, Fisherman, has some really good admin tasks for you guys. So some of you guys that say, hey, I want to be an admin, and I want to know what the day is like, he basically sits you down in the hot seat and you just start getting weird trouble tickets from this guy, Bob Blersky. And Bob Blersky's like, he's like a legend in our server for just being the most terrible person ever to have to support as a user. He's not well, he probably is a real person that Fisherman knew, but Fisherman has anonymized him into this, other thing. But all right, anyways, let's go over here. Drop into a cherooted environment. So I'm going to drop into an image shell for my Rocky image, and now I'm going to say uname-r. I'm on the same kernel, right? Because I'm still using the kernel of the Ubuntu server. But when I do an etc release local to me, I'm on a 9.8 box. So all of my commands and all of my things that are going on from a Linux standpoint are in this cherooted environment. So if I were to try to do DNF update on the server, I'm going to go call out to all my Rocky stuff. I'm going to go call out to everything that's configured for a Rocky server to download into this environment, right? Now we're going to say no. We're going to hit no. We don't want to package things, but it says it wants to install 3 packages with, install 3 packages and upgrade 13 packages. So it is going to try to update the kernel. We're going to go ahead and say no. Don't update right now. And then we're going to go ahead and say false, and then exit, and it'll tell us we didn't update that server in any way. Well, that's cool. We don't want it to update the server in any way. We just want it to pretend like it was going to. What's going on here? It's going good. I got a job in NDT since the industry stuff been non-existent for entry level. Got me a new PC rack. Nice at Rack Owl. Okay. Some nice specs there. Nice specs. Industrial fans, Peerless Assassin, SE Cooler. Just say computer go burr compared to my old. Yeah. Fair. Yeah, absolutely. Are you running eight? No, that's fine, Linux. My hands are slowing down over time. Plus, I'm hurting from jiu-jitsu today. No, that's good. That's good. It looks like you got some nice stuff going on. Now, are you running that on your own desktop, or is that thing? I mean, you said for you, so that sounds like that's up in a rack somewhere. Are you running? Because for me, like you guys know, I run a laptop at home. It's like a Dell gaming, like a Dell G15, like a gaming laptop. But I don't do almost none of the processing you guys ever see is done on this laptop. It's all over in my lab environment. Like when I haven't even pulled this up today, but when I'm doing this, everything here is always up in this is over in my lab environment, my little half rack in the other room. So you guys have seen, like, I don't do a lot of stuff, but I bought a rack mount case, slapped it in my home. Yeah, nice. So you've got it off to the side. Good. Okay. I just want to make sure it wasn't like sitting on your desk, like sideways while you're working. That would be pretty funny too, though. I mean, I've seen some pretty funny stuff. One of the guys that hangs out with us a lot, he's been in our server since maybe not the very beginning, but he's been around a long time, is Michael Pessa. And when he lived in his apartment before he got married, I don't think his wife lets him do this anymore, but before he got married, he had he needed a really big desk, right? Like you always want like a good sized desk. So he went over to IKEA, if you guys know what IKEA is. And IKEA sells just how are they called? Just countertops. They'd sell just giant, long ass 9-10 foot countertops, and he just got this giant countertop and put it across 2 files, filing cabinets, and then it was desk sized, but it was basically a counter for your kitchen, but it was huge, right? But he did that because he was like, hey, that was way cheaper than buying one of these nice desks, but it still got him all the desk space, and I thought that was pretty funny. Yeah. Plan to use it till 2040. Yeah. I have so much stuff like that in my home lab that I've been slowly decommissioning the old XCP-NG servers because they just, most of them can't hang anymore, and most of the stuff doesn't. Yeah, it can't. The hardware's all old and it's all getting full of dust, and it's not, it's not working as well. But we have the one new big lab in the environment, or the big lab server, right? That we've been moving a lot of stuff over to. So a lot of this stuff is probably a little, if you guys haven't done this stuff, there's a lot here, and I unpackage it when we kind of do the lab more, or when I record this for Unit 11, I'll unpackage it a little more. But this is what we do with Werewolf, right? So I go forward, and now we're gonna patch a Linux image. So that image exists on this box. We cherooted into it, and we said to patch, and it tried to patch, and it was ready to, but we told it no. Now we're going to do this in a more automated way. We're going to use a tool called Ansible to do it. So you guys saw me write up the Ansible over here earlier. So now let's go to step 3. And as we do the lab over here, if anything's busted, if any of our Ansible isn't correct, we're going to fix it in the lab, and then we'll update it. You know, we'll make it work in the lab, and we'll go push it back here to our markdown, which deploys the lab. Right. This is, you guys are seeing like a little bit of like under the hood. This is like I've pulled back and shown you guys the wizard, right? If you guys are familiar with that reference. But let's see right here. It says you've installed Werewolf and downloaded an image. Harden that image to 16. Okay, that's not what I want to do. So you installed this. I need to fix all this. Update that server to the newest software that is available in the repositories, in the locally configured repositories. Right, that's what we're gonna do. That's the thing. So we got to blow this all away because this is from the last lab. It says create an Ansible Cheroots file for modification of the environment. We did that, tested. Download the rel stick. Nope, we're not gonna do that. So let's take this out and let's go to execute. So let's no, let's do it like this. I probably should have just left that and fixed this. Execute the process of updating. And this will be, right, the Ansible that will run your package manager DNF to update the server software. Now, some of you might say, isn't updating part of hardening? Yeah, technically. I mean, you do harden a box and typically just update it then. But updating is also its own process that happens throughout the life of an image or a server, whether it's stateful or stateless. Temp pops out like 87C when using stress NG at 100% on all CPU. Okay. Yeah. So you can also, well, and you also probably know, you know, keep that thing nice and, you typically keep, it depends on, I mean, in data centers, we tend to keep things, I think, between, I think it's like 30 and 70-ish% humidity. And then also you got to keep your 92, is that 92C? That's a little high. If it's C, that's a little high. But that's not, I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, servers will run over 100C typically. But you might want to look at the board specs. Like, just, you should be able to download the board spec, Control-C, and just look for like temperature limits or like limits, and you'll find what your temperature limits are. But yeah, I mean, 92 isn't bad. But honestly, like for me, I try to just keep my fans clean in data centers, and then we have like kind of the standards of the we don't want to be too low on humidity because then we get static buildup. We don't want to be too high on humidity because then we start to get rust inside of the system. So either one of those are bad, and there's a million places where you can go see all the data center standards, right, for that kind of stuff. But you're running it in your home lab. Mine's the same way. It's run in the room over there. So I don't have as much control as like an air handler inside of a data center. I could have that kind of control in my home lab, but honestly, I don't care as much. It's probably fine. Just know that when there's more moisture around, you're going to collect dust more. When it's too dry, you're going to collect like static charge more. So then, you know, don't be touching your system without, you know, grounding yourself. A lot of people, you know, if you're not disciplined to keep your arm on something metal, then you should wear the little strap and then do that. And I think you should wear the strap anyways, but that's because I work with stuff that, like, I pull stuff out sometimes, like some of these NVIDIA servers that I work on, they'll have like 4 A100 or AH100 cards, whatever those are called. And, you know, that server in the rack is worth like $400K. It's like, man, that's almost what my house is worth, you know, like I don't want to be doing that kind of stuff. Ryzen chips, especially the X3D models, they're designed to run hot. Yeah, some of them, yeah. But you got to remember, the more things are designed to run hot, if fans ever stop, then it typically, you're closer to the edge, right? You're closer to where the wheels are going to fall off of something. So anyways, let's go look at this. So create an Ansible Cheroots file. We fixed that, right? We fixed that part. And then it says create a host file for the Cherooted environment that you want to edit. So root Ansible. So we can actually just run this real quick. Let's run these commands and make sure they work. Ansible and then vi cheroots. Yep. And then now we're going to hit I in there, and we're going to drop in that path for the system. So paste that in. And that is right. That is the path to our My Rocky image that we downloaded. Cool. And we said to use Ansible Cheroots. Cool. And then we're going to vi Ansible root updates, and we're going to drop in this code that we made earlier. Well, we stole it from ourselves, right? That's because that's what we do. We steal things from ourselves. Because they say good writers borrow, great writers steal. So we did that. And then now we're going to run the playbook with the cherooted environment. So we're going to run that. And let's make sure that this playbook... Oh, did I not... Oh, did I not cd to... Hold on. Oh, I probably want to cd to root Ansible. And then I'll cd back. I made it in here, didn't I? Where's that? Oh, I did put it in there. All right, now we run it. Okay, so I need to add over here. Let's go add make dir. So you just sure you're not in the wrong directory. So there we go. That'll fix that problem because we were in the wrong directory, right? Wait, what happened? Problem with my motherboard is not fully in tree. Can't edit PWM there from Linux yet. So they show up as read only. Interesting. Problem with motherboard not fully in tree. Can't edit PWM from in Linux yet. Show up as read only. Interesting. Yeah. I'm not sure what PWM is in that acronym. I might know what it is if you break it out for me, but yeah, it's possible something. I mean, depending on what's going on with the motherboard, you might have to set something before you drop into Linux, obviously. You know, because sometimes it doesn't have. Yeah, if something's read only, but I'm not sure you have PWM, like power module or something, is it? No. Yeah. Some of that stuff. So I'm also used to, so in the corporate world, right, when I work on government stuff and corporate, like big Dell servers, right, not my little, you know, basic little Linux boxes I have, dynamic speed adjustment. Okay. A lot of stuff that I control like that, once we're into a Linux environment and we've got all the hardware underneath, I will use tools like IPMI tool. And then what can happen is I can go back into my own device, because you always have this IPMI running, right? It's like an underlayer. Almost all servers in like modern environments, they kind of have like this hardware running underneath, like this hardware layer that can be turned on and off remotely if you have a connection in there. And we almost always do that in data centers nowadays. So almost always I can get back and control that, even when I'm inside of a system. It's a lot like ILO. Yeah, ILO is typically integrated lights out manager, and it'll be ILOM or ALOM, which is advanced lights out manager. That's what we used to call it on the old Sun systems. But ILO is typically like integrated lights out, meaning I can control my systems in an out of band way to turn them on or turn them off. It really helps nowadays. Like, it's super nice. IPMI is super nice because we used to always have to go and put a crash card on a box. Right, like we would push a crash card over there, and a crash card is a card that has a monitor, keyboard, mouse if you need it, and like basic power, and it plugs into the rack, and then we can do all the things we need to on a server, especially if it goes to a black screen of not booting, or what we call nowadays like a rescue shell. In modern Linux, it's a rescue shell. But it used to just be like the system would just hard boot, and then we would figure out where the boot was failing. Are you not seeing like the master boot record on one of the disks? Are you not seeing the disks? Did they not load? Like, are you booting off the network and that's not working? Like, there's all like there's more use cases than we could possibly talk about, right? But really, at the end of the day, you go in and you just look at what's going on. So yeah, that's interesting. You probably have a separate out of band channel to connect to that device. And you might want to hook it up and put it on the network, and then you can use that to go in and you can turn things on or off when you're not using them. Which we don't really turn things off much in data centers. I mean, modern data centers pretty much just run. But the point is, if something goes down, I should be able to get to it and like turn it back on without having to go put somebody's hands in the data center. Back in the day, I was always near data centers. In fact, I'm near the data center for Phoenix out here for NOAA. I can go put hands in the data center. But I mean, 95% of the time, I don't have to do that. I can do everything I need to from my desk, right? And that's a thing. That's a good maturity level to get to. We did all that. Okay, so we did all that. We fixed that. We're in the right environment. Let's run our playbook again. Now that we know that it'll work, and let's see if this will update that server, right? And it says Missing. All right, man. Okay. On there. Being cached anonymous on missing dependencies. Python app. All right. So what do we do? Oh my God, you guys know you got to stop me sometimes, right? Like you guys say, Scott, you can't do that, right? How are you going to use apt inside of a hell box? God, somebody should have stopped me. The module should be DNF. It could also be package. So Ansible package module rel 9, right? And it should be. We could use the package module, right? But we might be able to get away with. Yeah, we can get away with Ansible built-in package. That should work. All right. All right. Something broke. And I'm going to tell you guys what it is. It broke here because what's happening is we have in the environment. So watch what's going to happen. So cat etc resolve.conf, right? And in here, we've got this file that tells the system what it needs, right? This is where your search parameters are set for your DNS, right? This is where your server goes and looks for DNS. But this environment, you're going to say, well, Scott, when you just cherooted in there and you used the werewolf tool to go down in there and you did the DNF, it found that. But I'm going to tell you, watch, when we go look, we're going to go look at this actual environment real quick. I can guarantee you there's nothing in there. So let's CD to that, Control-Shift-V, right? And in here, we're going to go to Etsy. So now look, I'm in this long path down into there. I didn't mean to turn that on. Sorry, guys. That is really funny, though. Hold on. Where's it at?
I can answer that for money.
I didn't mean to turn that on, but that is funny. That's one. I got all these. I got a little soundboard that I never use because, like, I want to do that, but I just don't. But real quick, I'm going to show you guys. In here, there should be a. If I do more on the resolve.conf, not even in there. There's no resolve.conf. So when we cherooted in there and our system went to go look, it didn't know how to look this stuff up. So what we can do is we can actually copy that in from this system into that environment, and we can just have that added in. So we're going to VI, so we'll CD back to where we were. Not even that. Root Ansible. We're going to VI our update.yaml, and let's just push it from this local system. Whoops. Update the resolve.conf to make everything better, right? Let's just let's push in. Say the and that's going to be copy. And it's going to be from this system. So source is going to be this system, Etsy resolve.conf, right? And the destination will be Etsy resolve.conf. And you're going to say, wait a minute, Scott, how does that work that it's from the source to destination? Well, because the destination is Etsy resolve.conf local to this cherooted environment that we're going to be dropped into. It should work. Let's instead of arguing about it, let's go test it, right? This is the thing I always tell you guys. One test is worth 1,000 expert opinions, right? Let's see if our code works. I'll press up a million times before I retype something. I know I can do Control-Shift-T, but if you do that in a terminal, it'll sometimes. All right, look, it pushed that over. Now it's going to update all the stuff. Cool. We got to go fix this now. We're going to steal our code from ourselves and go put it over here. Well, I guess I could retype it. You guys want to see me retype it, right? Name is just going to be push over the correct Etsy resolve.conf, and it's going to be copy, and then we're going to do source and Etsy resolve.conf. and then dest is going to be etcresolve.conf, right? And then now this is going to take a little while to patch that up and do that. And then it's going to go. It worked for you as well. Nice, nice. Hey, see, it's nice to have somebody else working on it as well, so it's good. If you're in Phoenix, what part? Or hiding out in here? I'm up in Glendale. I'm up on pretty far over. I'm almost in Surprise. In fact, my jiu-jitsu gym's over in Surprise, so that's where I was training earlier. We probably had like 80 people on the mat today. It was pretty packed in there, which is good. I mean, that's like good. You get a lot of rolls with a lot of different people. But it was good. It was good fun. Yeah. So yeah, I'm up. Deer Valley is a little east of me. If you're up in the Deer Valley area, that's where my old gym actually is. It kind of closed down. There's some infidelity between our gym owners, him and his wife. So I don't know who did what. I don't care. But I just know there's some of that infidelity going on there. Well, they're not together anymore, so something was going on, right? But anyways, yeah, let's see if this works. So we copied that in. When this is done, do I know where Yorkshire is? I can look it up. I don't know where that is though. Google Yorkshire, Glendale, or let's say Phoenix area. Let me dox everybody real quick. Maps. I don't know where Yorkshire is. Is that a street? Oh, it's a drive. Let me back up real quick here. Oh, that's over on the 17. That's not far from me. I'm more over here to the left, and then my big data center that I work at is right here. So if you guys are ever like, where's this big data center Scott works at? It's right here on Union Hills, which is not far from me at all. Yeah, that's not too far. That's not too far from me. So, yep. This thing's updating all the packages. It shouldn't take too long. I'm surprised it's still sitting there. We probably should have done a time on this as well, but we can watch it go. Yeah, I'm real close. That seems like I'm only about 5. So my data centers are about 5 miles from me. So it looks like you're not far from my data center if you're over on Yorkshire somewhere. So yeah, the data center I work at's right at the I-17. That's the NOAA data center. Well, it's the Align data center. So there's probably 100 companies in there, but some big government stuff is in there as well. I know some guys from some 3-letter agencies that are. They're like the 3-letter shoot you agencies, like CIA, FBI type. I don't know exactly which ones, but I have some buddies that work over there in those ones. And yeah. Developer, we can do it sometime. I don't really drink much, but I'll go out sometime. We had one of our guys was in town a couple weeks ago. Well, maybe it was closer to like 2 months ago. I'm always like, I say something's like just recent, and then I think back and I'm like, no, he was here a while ago. But one of our guys was in town. Yeah, so we went and hung out and stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Links Developer, I'm pretty sure you're in the Discord, so you can always message me over there too. So if I go hang out with anybody, but one of my brothers would probably come too. He's one of our guys on our server too. He does data analytics, so he's always hanging out. So yeah, this is taking a little longer than I would have expected to patch. I mean, remember we only had 13 plus 3, so it's taking a little longer than I might have thought for it to update. But let's see if it finishes still. It should try to finish. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. Yeah. Yours completed? Okay. Now, what you want to do, AAC, is you can go back to that other command where you exec down into it and then do a... Actually, I say it later in here. So you can do that www image shell and then just validate with DNF history that you just updated your stuff. That's all you really need to do on yours. So if yours finished, that's all you need to finish with. So, yeah. That's good. If yours completed, mine should be hopefully not too far behind it. Because, yeah, we just kicked over that to resolve.conf, and then we just said build like this. I'm going to Control S this to save it. And then we'll go down here. We're sitting at this step right now. Does it run? What does it show? Right. Oh, it looks like it finished. Okay. So now we're going to drop into that shell environment again. So we did all this. Again, this has to fix, but it looks like AAC is fixing it in real time, which is awesome. We're going to drop into that shell, and I'm going to do like a DNF history, and it says 704. Yeah, it looks like it was done today. I've got this a little big because I want you guys to be able to read it, but I'll make it a little smaller. And it looks like, yeah, we just did some updates and installs on the system right now. So it says it altered 16 packages. We expected 13 and 3, so that's about 16, right? Yeah. And then we can see that we have done something to the system. I didn't know if it was going to be there, but in this environment, we should also be able to go to var log, and then we should be able to see dnf.log, and dnf log should also show us that just at the end here, right? These are all these old ones as the system was built, but we should have all the way to the end. We'll go drop. We could have just looked at the end, but it does look like we see the installing today of DNF, right? DNF did a bunch of installs. And then, we also see the errors earlier, right? When I didn't have, we couldn't find it. And then now we have our actual install. And we can go dig in, right? Like if our system didn't patch or if something was busted, we could go back and figure that out for sure. Yeah, developer, I think you have a different name on Twitch or on our Discord, but if you do, yeah, just message me. Yeah, we'll make it happen sometime. I'm out of town though here coming up. Some of you guys know I'm going. The wife is doing all 50 states before 50, and she turns 50 later this year, so she's got one more state left, which is Alaska, and we're gonna go do a cruise up there. I've never done a cruise in my life. No real desire to do cruise, but she wants to go. We just figured we'll do a cruise. We'll go up to Alaska. That's her last of the 50 states to hit. And then we're going to hang out there for a little bit and then come back. So I'll be gone, I think the 10th through the 18th I'll be gone. But I'm taking like almost all of July off work because I've stopped accruing time. It's actually funny. We're subcontracted at Redline. We're subcontracted under General Dynamics IT. And we're kind of known for like not taking time off. Like all of us are like, they're like, you guys are all super committed. And we're like, I don't know. I mean, even if we weren't doing this, we'd be doing other stuff within the company. Like I'm building all this high performance compute training out. That was actually something else I was going to do today on stream if I get around to it. NDT at TSMC. Okay. Nice. Yeah. It's always fun stuff to do. I'm gonna say false on here. So false, and then exit because I didn't want to make any other changes to the environment. But then did we validate that the system? So if you see today's date for your most recent update, can you prove? I'm just gonna say you can surmise. That'll be a fun word. Surmise that the system has been updated by your Ansible playbook. All right, so much like everything I do, I'm going to save this, right? I'm going to go and I'm going to say updated lab 11, commit it, push it up, and then what do I have to do? Well, I'm kind of crazy, so I need to go do it all again. I got to go do the whole lab again. But if anybody wants to do the lab with me, it should be a lot better now, right? It should be a whole lot better now. And we're going to back out. Oops. Back out. Back all the way out to here. And then we'll go back one more. If we go back one more on the labs, we should see, might even have to go one more back. Maybe in my creator. I think it's only in my creator profile that it'll show you in our labs. We'll see that it was just pulled right now in UTC time, right? And it should say I update. Yeah, that was my last git commit, updated lab 11. Yep. So come back to our automation labs. Lab 11, we'll pretty much be able to call this good. Love working with computer. Yeah, systems work is, I think it's just good all around. I find this to be my most the most enjoyable type of work for me is just doing computers like this. Some of you guys know I started out in networking, and I just didn't love networking, man. Like, and I know this is gonna kind of sound cocky or arrogant, or nowadays we call this being Chad, but like all my shit just worked, and it was like, I hate to say it like that, but it's like I got bored as a networking guy. Now I could have kept going further up and gotten into all this other stuff, but I was like doing it, and I was like, and you might say, well, maybe you just didn't do the fun stuff. Well, I did for the school district. I did firewalls and wireless, which I think sound the most exciting to most people, but I just didn't love it, man. I just got into Linux, and I was like, Linux is way cooler for me, so I started doing it. They get monotonous after I learn all the ropes. Yeah. Well, and I know people who change jobs every couple of years because even within the Linux world, it's not super challenging for them after a while. I have quite a few friends that they will move jobs just because they're not being challenged anymore. And some people do that obviously for money, but some people just they'll cross for the same pay, but they just don't want to be bored anymore. And I definitely think that's a valid thought for people. All right, we've got all of our stuff. We're going to check our Ansible version. We're going to remove the local version. Oh, it's still building. It's still going. It's still being lazy. All right, there we go. Ansible version, remove Go, purge it, reinstall it with the specific version that we want. Well, we'll reinstall version 1.23. So I'm just running through the lab again. So anybody that wants to ask anything, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just kind of hanging out. But yeah, I get the constant learning challenge because engineers, I mean, and this will also sound super Chad, but at some level of pay, engineering starts to be more about like, well, one, the environment, right? Because you're already making good money, so like you're not worrying about your house payment and stuff. But it's like it starts to be more about like the environment you get to work in, the people you get to work with, and then like the challenges and the things you get to do. And it's like, I've had to over the years because I've probably my last 10 jobs I've been grabbed by people to go do things, and I try to only go do things that are interesting to me, right? I try to nowadays, but I think that's like one of the things you work towards. You work to that, and then you eventually get that in your career. Let's CD there, and let's make sure that everything will just validate everything in the make file, and then we'll do a make install, and then that'll be probably 5 or 6 minutes again, right? So we'll go walk around, take a break or something. All right, make install, boom. All right, this is gonna run for about 5 minutes, so I'm gonna do a quick break. Let me turn on my hourglass. This is your time, right? This is your smoke 'em if you got 'em, right? I'll go drop this right here, and I'll say take a break and stretch your legs. I'm also going to grab some water. We'll do 6 minutes because we think it's going to take about 6 minutes to build, right? Let's leave this up here out of the way somewhere. So take a break real quick, and then if you guys got questions or you guys want to ask me anything about what I do and what this kind of stuff builds into and is part of, I will gladly show you that as well. So I'll be right back. All right, what do we got? 3 minutes still? Let me know if you guys have any questions. Still on our break. Still wandering around a little. Got more water bottles, that's good. All right, looks like that's still compiling. Oh, you messaged me in Discord? Good. I won't pull that up on stream, but I can pull up everything else on stream here real quick while we're kind of hanging out with this over. Let me tell you guys, we got a big event coming up, right? I'll move that over. We're still on break, but if anybody wants to kind of check out what I've got here, we got a whole bunch of events coming up that you guys can come to right in August 8th and 9th. We're doing our big technology conference. We kind of hang out, just all the different engineers around in the different parts of the industry come and talk about a bunch of different stuff. It doesn't look, it's actually funny because we've been doing this for a while. It doesn't ever look like that many people are coming, but we'll have a few hundred people come throughout the day to these different events and stuff. But the thing about them is we just come and we just talk about things. And mine, I like to talk about, I've got a talk that I've done the last few years called Why Engineering. I just keep updating it every year. So I think it gets better and better. I've added security into it. I've added just base engineering topics, but strictly speaking, this isn't even really about Linux. It's just engineering and like getting better at engineering and that kind of stuff. We got somebody coming to talk about thinking like an attacker. This is from one of our guys that has talked last year, Burninator, and he is a major in the Space Force. I don't mind telling you that because he's told you guys that. But he's going to come and talk, and he's actually going to bring a Red Hat contact as well. So we're going to have him and a Red Hat guy coming and talking to you guys about Rel Stigs. And they may even have some little sessions set up that you guys can go play with. Because I think the one guy had messaged me and said, hey, do you want me to like set up a thing for your guys? And I was like, yeah, come on down. So they're going to come talk to you guys about that stuff. Jared's come and talk to our group, I don't know, maybe 8 times now. I've known Jared since we were in 7th grade, but he's a data analytics guy. He does data architecture for a company called Zorro. And some of you guys, have been around when he's talked. He does, they're a billion plus e-commerce website. I think they're hitting almost 2 billion now. They hit 1 billion just a couple of years ago, and then now they're going up. King Buns is going to do the 2 late night hangouts, so you guys can come and hang out with other guys. I think he's going to do some Jackbox games and stuff. So if you guys want to mess around with that and have fun with that, it'll be kind of cool. Yeah, these are always fun. If you guys haven't done these are pretty fun. Let's go ahead and stop our timer. We'll call this the end of our break. I'll move this up so we can see chat again. Oops. Where's the edge of this? Move this up a little bit so you guys can see the talk again. Yeah, King Bun's going to do that. Then we're going to talk about, for people that want to get into RHCSA, Stovepipe's going to come talk to you guys. You guys know he's got a big thing on, he's on GitHub, but he's also on this other one called like Codeberg. I don't know if any of you guys have seen that. He kind of moved over there. Oh, also this thing's done now. We can see that's done. We're going to have a good buddy of mine, Dr. Matsusuri, going to come and talk to you guys about AI economics. He's the head of forecasting for a pretty big company. I'll let him tell you guys that name. But he's the head of forecasting, which is an economics position, and you guys can ask him all about economics and that kind of stuff. And he specifically does it with AI models and MCPs and some of these other things. He's pretty good at that. He's actually the one who I set up the MCP server for yesterday and gave him access into our environment for that. And then we're going to have Frederick come in to talk to us. He said to use his first name, so that's fine. Spiffy and Zero Trust models. He's one of the authors of it. So if you guys have never seen the Spiffy Zero Trust type model, there's that. And then we're going to have a late night hangout, second night. We typically have a few hundred people come to these, and we're a way bigger server than we were last year. So those get pretty packed. But you guys are welcome to hang out. It's just those fucking things. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the Discord. Let's make sure this is all working. So we've patched that. Let's time that. How long does it take to build? 6 minutes and 38 seconds. If Werewolf's installed correctly, you're ready to move on. All right, looks like Werewolf's there. We're going to download a Rocky image, verify everything, do all this other stuff. So let's download it real quick. Don't show your DM. Oh, I'm not going to show the DMs on there. No, I won't do that. I think you changed password. You want to get the files still. What happened with the files? I don't know what. Linux, you'll have to. I'll message you and we'll figure out what that is, because I've definitely changed. There's some passwords that people can't get into anymore, but there's key-based access for everybody. So if you need to get something specific, like if I had like some people I have libraries of stuff that I sometimes give to people, especially, well, we won't talk about it here, but if you want to talk about it in the Discord, we can talk about different things that I have for people. But if you're looking for something like that, then I can help you out on that. I don't always know. Oh, yeah. I definitely have those. Yeah. I definitely have all those. If you want my thousands and thousands. In fact, I just recently downstairs we were running a bunch of arcade like MIME emulators on an old Xbox. I have the original Xbox and it's all modded out for a whole bunch of different types of games and stuff. So yeah, that stuff's fun. Although I don't really build out. I don't even think anybody's maintaining. We should go check that while that thing's building or while that's downloading. Are they still doing? Are they still building RetroPies? I think RetroPie is like a dead project. I mean, last I checked, I don't think anybody was building this. I don't think they've been updating it. Maybe they are. Let's see. Because this is what it used to look like. Yeah, I don't think anybody's updating. Let's go see their GitHub. Yeah, back to 2022. Yeah, they're not even. Somebody's doing something still in the forums. But yeah, I don't think they're doing anything with this anymore. But this is the project. This is where I used to run most of my stuff. Okay, Batistera. Yeah, my stuff I have. I want to say my ROMs are somewhere on the order of. I can go look. Why do I guess, right? Let's hold on. Yeah, but it doesn't look like RetroPies are being built like new ones anymore. Let's go over here. When this thing decides to respond. All right, here we go. SH2, we'll go to the old host box. And the original old host box. ISOS has its own directory. It's 79 gigs, so it's not super large. It won't use all that much space up. So yeah, Linux developer, I'll message you here in a little bit, and we'll plan something out there. Look, that took 2 minutes and 47 seconds to download. That's cool. And it says right here that we're going to www.ctl image list. We see that myrocky image that we just downloaded. Cool. We'll check our kernel of the version and the kernel and the version of the server that we're on. Then we'll drop into an image shell, which is just a cherooted environment inside a Werewolf. We'll check in there that we're still using the kernel of the Ubuntu box that we're on. But the release of the server, as we check locally, is a Rocky 9.8 Linux box. So if I did any commands in here like DNF update, it would very quickly go and it would try to update. But we did that earlier, so we know that works. So I'm going to say false and exit, which false says to return a non-zero, so it returns a 1 for our exit code. And then when we exit, it'll not build the server out, so it doesn't make any changes, right? It doesn't make any changes that are persistent and pushed into the Werewolf environment. That's kind of important to know, because later on, if you're using Werewolf and you're making changes, but they are still staged and they are still real, you just haven't built the image again yet, which can kind of get confusing for people, because you're like, well, I've made a change, but I didn't push it. But then when somebody else makes a change and pushes it, it does take your change. So you could have a breaking change in your environment that's not tested because you never pushed it forward. So that's a thing. I mean, this is when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? Too many admins. You got to know like what you're actually changing in an environment, right? All right. So anyways, let's go do our playbook, because playbooks are the easiest and best ways to do this. Make a directory for root Ansible. We'll go drop in there. We're going to make this cherooted environment, more correctly, we are making a host group that is called cheroots that points to the cherooted environment for our myrocky image. That's what we're doing right here. All right, so we did that. And we're mostly just making sure everything works. Now we're going to make an update. Wait a minute. Did that not change? Hold on. Oh, I thought we were in the Werewolf directory. So we're in the right directory. Okay, we'll make that. We're going to push this whole big long guy in here. So hit I to go to insert mode. You can control shift V if you're in a browser, or you can just right click and paste if you're in a browser. But does that look right? Yep, it's got the 3 dashes to tell us that it's a YAML file. Tells us the name of the play. It also has that survey host, which is our host group list, right? We can put any host groups we want in here, comma separated, or individual hosts nowadays. That's not the way it used to be though, but host groups. We've got our 2 commands, our 2 they're actually the I guess we call them plays inside of the playbook, right? But we're going to have a module call for copy, push that in there, and then we're going to just update everything. So if everything worked the way we expect, we can run it. And if it runs and if everything happens, we should see, oh, I should throw a time on the front of that. Let's go back to step 3. Really should just throw a time on the front of that. Say updated command in step 3 of lab 11, right? Of automation. There we go. Push that up. Let's take a few seconds to run. I think it took us a minute or 2 last time. Yeah. Oh, mine might take a little longer, but that's not that big of a deal, right? It'll still do what it needs to. So, and then our next lab. Let's see what our next lab is, because lab 12. I probably won't get to it today, but we're gonna do networking devices. So, I have a plan for that one. I have some things to add to that one. That one should be good. Remediation drift I've written before, so we're really just gonna be pulling another lab in and kind of cheating. But that'll be fine. And then troubleshooting is going to be based on the first lab, so I could probably get these ones done later today. But if I do, I'll probably hop back on stream. Right? It depends. The wife wants to hang out today, so we'll see how much we do. We don't really I don't really go out and do fireworks. I don't mind fireworks, but I just don't go out and do fireworks. So I probably won't mess around with that. Also, why does that not have? Anyways, it doesn't matter. I think I've knocked that off before I saved it. It's fine. This is fine. This will work. I'm just looking at this and thinking about when we go and push these into the environment, if everything there is correct. I do have all these paths already in the workbook, so the workbook's been updated. I think out to like, I don't know, 14 or something. So all these paths are the correct paths that will be in killercoda, so that's good. All right, let's see if this will update for us. It should update. It shouldn't take this long though. And we'll drop in the shell and we'll do our DNF history. Let me look this up while we're... What is this? I haven't played with this at all. I've never even heard of this. See, I've always built my little RetroPies out, and I haven't done those in years. But I mean, if people want to see that, we could build those out. Note that you must own the games you play in order to comply with law. Fair, yeah, right. That's always the thing. Let's go read about it a little bit on their GitHub. What versions of emulators do they have? Oh, that's all kind of cool. Oh, they got wine in there, so that's cool. They're updating it actively, so that's kind of cool. That's what their little emulation station looks like. Yeah, these aren't too bad. On the Pi 4, I got 4s, and I think I got a couple of 5s that I've just never even built out, or I used them only for Kali. Okay. Yeah, doesn't look too bad. Okay. Yeah, I mean, early on when I was streaming, like, there's been decisions made over the years around streaming where it's like, I could do more fun things like that, but I kind of like, and I've even thought, like, to just play retro games online, but I'm like, you know what? Even though I like joking around, I find that I am much more of a serious guy, right? Like, even though I want to be, I have all my little sound stream deck things here, but I don't like, I mean, I haven't played any of these today. Get to the chopper! I haven't played any of these things, right? I love all of those, but I don't ever play them. So anyways, where I'm going with that is, yeah, we'll get you the stuff that I've got for sure. I'll make sure that you have that, but yeah, that's an interesting little thing. I'll have to get back into that. But yeah, I thought early on, I was like, oh, maybe every now and then I'll do this and let's do Linux stuff, right? Do Linux and show people that they can do this stuff. Doing this stuff professionally can be I think very lucrative for most people. Like, it can be a really good career. And I mean, honestly, like, it's the same stuff that I would be doing for fun. I would build stuff like this for fun, even if they weren't paying me for it. But like, I get paid to do this stuff right here, right? Like, this is all the high performance compute stuff. This is all, like, the werewolf stuff is all stuff that we do over there. So I try to show you guys it because I really do think that most people could do this if they wanted to. All right, this thing's taken, well, I guess it's taken about as long as it did last time, but now we'll have it, we'll have it all set up so we know. Where did I put that here? Step 3. Yeah, here we are. Okay, so I put time on there. That's good. Then we'll go check and validate that it's made the changes that we thought it was going to. And then we're pretty much done with this lab. And then we could go start into, we were going to start the next one. But again, I probably won't get to all of them today. But Unit 12 has this. Let's let this pop up. Hope it pops up. Here's Unit 12. Oh, I'll slap this back here. So it's not in front of any chat. And then this was us talking about last week. So last week is Unit 11 that we just finished. And then it was updating things, right? That was stuff that we talked about. And then this week would be backup router configs via Ansible for Cisco modules, and then connecting to and using software development network in the cloud, right? So software defined networking. So SDN is like a way that we separate out like the control plane and like the access. Oh, here we go. So that's finished. So then I said networking, there's an old but still very valid way that we do it. I still connect into servers like this, SSH into live servers, and then update them, right? But there's also the console connection when we first set up servers, but hopefully you at least get that stuff set up like I get them set up through Dell before they come out, and then we put them in big racks as we set everything up. But then there's software-defined networking, which is often very API-driven, and that might be like your web-based configurations in AWS or Azure or Google Cloud Platform or whatever, and it's very declarative. It's like, I would like a server, I would like a virtual, whatever that virtual private VPC, right? Virtual private cloud. I would like that to have a 172.16 address with a /16, and then I'd like to carve it up into a bunch of subnets, right? And you can declare that in YAML files, and then we can just set things up, and it'll carve it all up for you. You don't have to go in like we used to and type in the Cisco commands like we used to. We used to have to go configure all the devices by hand, but nowadays most people have never even logged into a router, even people that are pretty well versed in this stuff. That's the old console port setup, right? Something like this. I actually have a cable I just ordered this week. I got it sitting over there by my laptop. bag. But it's how I connect in when I'm in the data center, right? I have a few different ways that I connect in inside of data centers, but this is one of the more common ones as well. And we used to do an RJ45 to DB9 adapter, but nowadays you can just plug it in as a USB, and then you do a COM port connection with USB. And then this right here, this is like a general setup of a Cisco device that you actually need to know. This one comes directly from, if you were going to do like a CCNA, you need to know how to do these basic setups here of your system, right? And then, you know, I said here's some automation configurations over SSH, so you could use Ansible to configure like an iOS config and then add a bunch of lines to a like an access control list if you wanted to, right? And this one gave it a name, so it's a named extended access control list, right? An extended access control list can filter based on source, destination IP, source IP, so source to destination IP, source port, destination port, source protocol, destination protocol. It can filter on anything. Whereas if you do like a standard access control list, it can only filter on your source port, right? Or your source port, your source IP address rather, right? So where is it coming? What network? Where is the traffic coming from? So this is kind of more, this is a extended one, and then this is a way that you could configure stuff, right? I'm not gonna make people do that in this lab though. You can automate backup. So we used to show version and then pull everything out of it, right? We can read that show version into a variable, and then you would be able to pull that out. So this was like load balancers. So load balancers are another one where we'll have like a big F5 server in front of something, and it'll have an IP address, and then it'll go back to like multiple different web servers behind. And I used to use stuff like this where we would remove pool members, drain out all the connections so that no more connections get established. And then once the server's ready, we could take it down, patch it, bring it back in, reestablish a connection to it, this kind of stuff, right? This is all, and the course that this is for is the automation course. And we talked about this when we did this kind of live, but the point is you can pull members in or out of the system as you need with something like this. And I was just giving examples. So software-defined networking, that's that same idea. We're not going to go too much into that, but there's some things that'll help you with that. Like if you struggle with network policies inside of Kubernetes, there's some really good tools out there that'll help you build them visually. This is from networkpolicy.io, but they are, what the heck's the name of that? Yeah, skip verification, pop up. Cilium. Yeah, Cilium is the name of the tool. Oh, and apparently I can't look at this in dark mode, so let's go turn off our dark reader for a second. Yeah, there we go. That looks a little more like what we might want. And then you can go in here and you can modify things, and it'll modify your policy down here. This is actually really nice if you struggle with writing network policies in what's it called, in Kubernetes. This will help you out with it. I have some labs that I think help you out with that before. But yeah, this is editor.networkpolicy.io. If you guys need it, it's free. You can just go put in, you can even put in namespaces that you want to use, and it'll build your network policy exactly like what you would need for Kubernetes. So, I mean, it's right at the end of the day, if you're the admin on the thing, you really just need to get the declarative code for how to configure it. I have some labs that show you guys how to do some more of that networking stuff. Let's go look real quick. Let's drop in the image shell. Let's look at our DNF history. And we see that, yeah, we patched something today. So that's cool. So I can call this lab pretty much done. And then what I would do is look at you, learning automation, use Werewolf to build and secure modern. Okay, we got to fix this. Hold on. We got to fix this part real quick. Let's not get almost all the way there and not finish it. So our finish, use Werewolf to build and update a modern Linux image to the newest available package software in the configured repositories, which are the default repositories, right? Control S. Down here, updated the finish for lab automation lab 11. Boom. Commit. Get that up. We don't have to redo that because that's just the end of that, but I'm pretty good with that. So then what I always do, and if you guys don't know, inside of Discord, I always go here and I always scroll down these guys. I always go down here to our killercoda labs and I say automation lab 11 is complete and can be tested. If you'd like to leave a review, they added a new thing like in the last few months where you can get through a lab and go, I really didn't like that, and give me a low score. Or you can say, that was a pretty good lab, and you can give whatever, and you can give feedback. So that's kind of cool. Like I can go look in killercoda, I think as a creator. They added this functionality well after I started doing this. But I think I can go on my profile here for Het Tanis. And then here's all my labs and stuff. But I think that somewhere in here, maybe under creator, hold on. I think in the creator, maybe it's in my profile. I'm pretty sure I can go look at like what scores. Oh, nice. Thanks for that, AAC. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully this stuff kind of makes sense. This one's like a little, this is kind of like deep down in the weeds of like this tool and stuff, and I just kind of made you build stuff and look at it. But there's a lot, I have a lot of other resources I think that are good to show. Where is this at? I thought I had, hold on. I for sure can see, let me go to my account. Maybe it's over here. Yes, I have free membership. But as a creator, right? Normally I can see how many labs are being used, like my lab usage, right? Let's go to creators here. Oh, maybe it's down here now. Ratings. Yeah, I definitely see. I don't know where I normally find scenarios, but I can see all my scenario rate, like how many people are going in my scenarios and stuff. And I've always like, because I've always kept like 5,000 plus scenarios kicked off per month, but I don't know where that is anymore. I thought that was always down here. Ah, here it is. Let's go look in our activity. I just sometimes like to do this. Again, I don't get paid anything for this, but this is sometimes kind of fun. You know, not too much in the last hour, but looks like some things have been kicked off recently, probably from us messing around. Here's the last 7 days. Here's the last 30 days, and then for the last 6 months, oh, we've been around 2,000. Okay, so we've dropped off recently. This one looks like a big drop off, but it's because we're in the 4th of the month, right? But we typically have, I mean, I typically have a good amount of things. And there's a cool thing, Kim Woosterkamp runs this. You can message him on here, and he'll send you all the logs. So you only see 6 months here, but he'll send you a CSV of all of your scenarios. Like I have like hundreds of thousands of scenarios that have kicked off over the years. It doesn't show any of mine, so when I'm doing my neurotic testing of things, but it does that. 5-star for bad quadlets over cubes. Okay. Yeah, I never did anything like this, so I was looking up a lot of tools and concepts, but overall it's pretty easy to follow even without. Yeah, AAC, and that's kind of a thing I often talk about. Like if two of your buddies, you know, you're back in high school, two of your buddies are getting all buff and the girls are starting to notice them, so you go, hey, I want to do what you guys are doing. I guarantee you none of your friends are going to sit you down for 6 hours in the locker room and like talk theory about weightlifting. They're just going to be like, come follow us around the gym. And then you're just going to have like sore, you know, you're going to be sore and you're going to be like, all right, we were pushing some of these days and we were pulling some of these days. And after a while, you're going to start to get it. Well, that's kind of like how I try to run my labs is like, we're just going to go through and do stuff. And then over time, you're going to be like, oh, that's what Scott was talking about. Because I really do think like a lot of this stuff is you guys can, I think you guys can really figure this stuff out. I think this stuff's very attainable for most of you, especially, I mean, anybody that would listen to me for more than a few minutes probably could figure this stuff out, right? They just have to kind of be shown around some of the landmarks and some of the ways that we build these things. And AAC, I don't think, maybe you haven't been around as long, but I do all this stuff obviously in the local thing. So where is that? Hold on. Yeah, I do all this stuff in my local home lab, right? Like I have all this stuff built up here. But okay, so we're gonna call 11 good. We message it to the guys. Yeah, like I do all this stuff locally. I run Werewolf in the environment. He's Werewolf's right there because we moved him over from XCPNG. We can kick over any of these boxes in the environment and they immediately come back up and work and all that kind of stuff. Wait, what happened? Can he just hook us up with a low-key Grafana endpoint? Did you guys know, like, to get low-key and Grafana and that kind of stuff, you guys can just You guys can hook up. Grafana Cloud is free. They'll give you this always free cloud. I've been hooked up. I've been on that one for years. I haven't really used it, but you can push a lot of data up to Grafana for free in their cloud, and they will never charge you. They don't ask you for a credit card. They don't whatever. They have it. They have it all right here. So if I say Grafana.com, right, they have their always free cloud. Yeah, their forever free plan is right here, and it's surprisingly a large amount of stuff. I just log in right through my Google, right, because it's just Google validated. But here's all the things that you can use for free with them, which is more. I mean, I think that's more than most of you will ever use. And you might say, well, what's 50 gigs of logs in the big scheme of things? Is that daily? Oh, 50 gigs of log. I think this is, yeah, and it's 14-day retention with 3 active users. So you could have some other people running stuff in your labs. But 50 gigs of logs, when you're just running a Linux server, just a server that's not really doing anything, just kind of chilling, you're probably generating between about 8 and 15 megs a day of logs. If it's just a Linux server that's not doing anything else. Now, once you start adding applications and node exporters and things like that, you're going to get a little higher. But most Linux boxes are just sitting around or under 20 megs a day of log. So you say, well, so how much could I get out of this? Well, I mean, you'd have to go play with it. But my point is you wouldn't be sending many gigs of logs up there to be able to do that. So anyways, that's something to think about, Linux developer. Like, because, yeah, I mean, I have all kinds of stuff. I mean, obviously, these are all my lab things that are running, right? These are things that are going on and things that we're keeping track of. But if I wanted to push that up into the, oh, wait, what's going on here? What? I'm not logged in anymore. Hold on, let's get back connected here. Yeah, we're back connected. All right. I built a pretty beefy server for my friend yesterday, and we're still not even using, what's our percentage of RAM here? We're not using hardly any RAM. We're only at 12% across all this, which is all the lab environment that you guys have in Prolog and that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, the killercoda dude. Oh, Kim. So yeah, they have, like, whatever they're doing, it's very they can be very how would I say that? They're very kind of set in their ways, because I've asked before, because I'm in their Slack, and I've asked, like, hey, can I just have like 2 or 3 little just disks that we could attach to servers, and I can show these guys how to do like MD-ADM raids and LVM and all this stuff, and they're like, no, we don't have any plans for that. And I'm like, oh, all right. I don't want like a lot of stuff. Yeah, Linux developer, the guys, this is actually funny. When I got this server, because I got the server a while back, they were like they've been saying I have more processing than some small to medium companies, and I'm like, that's probably true, because I have 4 other servers too. Well, yeah, I have 4 other servers in the environment, but this is my main server now, right here. This guy, he's the main one that does most of the stuff. But look, I mean, he's chilling even with all the lab servers on, and you know, people have been using the labs the last few weeks. I've been seeing people in there, so that's good. You know, the goal is to get people in there. Is there a reason why you don't use a domain name for it? I never set up DNS in my own home lab. I just use IPs for everything, and then I have host files. I probably should set up DNS one of these days. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of lazy. Everything I do at work is all by IP as well, so I'm kind of lazy. I probably should just set up internal DNS. Werewolf will run it for me. I just haven't. Well, Werewolf won't run, strictly speaking, DNS, but I could slap DNS onto it and just read the host file in. Yeah. No, it is. You're right, Q. It absolutely is. Yeah, it is. But I'm so used to doing everything via IPs. So, IPs and node names, right? Like nodes do get like names in my environment based on the rack and their location, but and I do use that, but that's typically still from the host file in Werewolf, because I generate all of them. I'll just generate them all with like a Python script, and then load it all up in Werewolf, and then everything will be in there. No, it's 100% me being lazy. Oh God, you guys can find, like, my labs work, but it's like they're like one of those like a cartoon where something's in the background and it's running, and there's like pipes and steam coming out of stuff, and you're like, how the fuck is this thing still running? Yeah, that's basically my home lab, but it works. I mean, it keeps things going, but I keep it cool in there so it doesn't burn down. But yeah, I do things different. It's funny, I do things differently in the professional world than I do in the non-professional, my lab side of things. I'm much more like loose. fast and loose with my rules on how I run my home lab for sure. Let me see what my wife's saying. Let's see what my wife's messaging me. Because she was gonna run and grab food, which I'm sure places will be closing down soon here in America because we're 4th of July, so everybody will be doing 4th of July celebrations later. Probably hear a lot of fireworks going off and stuff tonight, which don't really bug me or anything. Like I'm not one of those combat vets that like can't hear fireworks or whatever. I just don't really like big crowds of people. So I don't really go out for fireworks or nothing. I don't mind them though. Like I'll set them off or whatever. Actually, I'm trying to think. No, New Year's this last year we went somewhere where we were setting off fireworks like crazy over there. Almost burned one of my wife's coworkers, his backyard. They were setting up these little you guys ever seen those really, really light they're like laundry bags or something, and you put the wax and then you put the candles on them and they'll float away, and one of them floated into his tree and started his tree on fire. I wasn't part of that. I just saw it happening and I was like, I think we need to get a hose up there. So we started spraying it with a hose. It was kind of funny. But that's the kind of stuff people get into when you leave them to their own devices. All right, so wait, we update all that. Let's get out of this then. And the next one, so when we go to do the next one, we're going to drop it right here. And maybe we'll wait on that one because I don't think I have that much time. No, it was really fun. I mean, it was funny because it was by his pool, so it probably wouldn't have burned his house down. But like his whole backyard was pretty dead, and we didn't want it to start a big fire. That would have been terrible. Where are we at here? Yeah, I got a lot more capacity in here. And then some of you guys that have been around know that XCPNG is the way we used to do everything in the home lab. So all the stuff used to be like this. Right here, right? XCPNG. And now we only have 2 of these. Oh, wait, is one of these off? Wait a minute. Am I down to my last server? Oh, I did turn off that other one the other day. We're down to our last one server up in the home lab. So these 3 are down, no longer drawing power. However, I'm pretty sure this one, I wrote them down. I'm pretty sure this one I'm going to repurpose as another Proxmox server because this one is one of the newer ones. So yeah, I've taken a lot of the power the power out of the other room that was just turning electricity into heat over there. I've got this one last one, and really the only servers I need to pull off of here are the P01 Jumpo 1 and 2 servers. And then... Wait a minute, this isn't good. Hold on. I think this one's up, but it's just... Yeah, I was going to say, because if that was down, my prod Kubernetes is here, and we wouldn't have been on the Prolog site. This would have been down because this site's hosted off of that. So let's go look at certificates. These are the little certificates you get if you do our courses with us. I don't know. Some people need them. Some people need them because they're good for if you're trying to get into the field, right? But this is everybody that's on the front page, by the way, has volunteered. You don't have to be on the front unless you want to be, right? Not everybody wants to put their name on there, but some of the guys volunteered and they're up there. And this does rotate. There's Shane. Trevor was the other guy. I'm on there as well. Oh, Eric Jacobs said too. Okay. But anyways, yeah, that's available. What is this? Yeah, there. And this. Yeah. All right. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Yeah, they were drinking up some wattage for sure. Although I have a 15 kilowatt hour system on my roof and I live in Phoenix where when you have a southern exposure like that, I get a massive amount of. In fact, even with my AC set at 73 all year, in summer, I'm still selling back to the grid during the day because I have such a big. But at night, no, don't get me wrong. At night, those things are definitely drawing more power. But they weren't really working all that hard all the time. They were just on, most of the time, and then they were running what's it called? Obviously XCPNG on them, and we were running at one point probably about 60 servers on them. All we've moved over though to Proxmox. We've kind of shrunk this down because since we're not in the middle of a course right now, The Rocky servers have been kind of chilling with only 5 of them, and they've been able to handle capacity that people needed. Then there's also the auto course for the auto work, and then for the hammer stuff, which is the security engineering course, is the hammer course. We just picked that because there's a thing. Me and one of the other guys, we used to. So I've worked at Lockheed Martin I worked there about 5 years, 2008 to 2013 or so, and I worked in this system where we were doing, it was all downstream satellite stuff, so pulling downstream satellite, catching it in Luster, which is this high-speed file system. And Hammer, yeah. So the thing about Hammer, hey Atticus, how's it going? We had this competition called Hammer Block at Lockheed Martin. I don't know if they're still running it because I haven't been there for 13 years or whatever. But Hammer Block was this range that you could go out to, and different like hardware teams that were building stuff out, they would drop stuff in there. Different security teams would build stuff out there, like people that were doing like hardened systems and hardened Linux and all this other stuff. They would just drop servers out there, and then there were a bunch of us that it was almost like a firing squad, like a firing range. We could jump in. We had persistent servers on the environment, and we could attack anything in the environment that we wanted to. We were allowed, you were allowed to do whatever you wanted to this environment. It was called Hammer Block, right? And but there were competitions. And me and my team we took first place the 1 year, and then we took third place the second year. Third place, we lost to the red team for Lockheed Martin. So Lockheed Martin had a red team, and we lost to them. And then there was somebody else who kind of like slid in before us because they reset the environment and let people get points on the same thing again. So one guy got more points than our team. But other than that, we used to just go in and attack the environments and stuff. It was kind of fun. And then like that's what kind of led into when I did red teaming and stuff with AAA for a while there. Was mainly stuff that we had done from Hammer Block, right? Anyways, so originally we did the security engineering course, right? And the courses are all free. If you guys don't know, you can go to the professional Linux users group. We've got the certify, and then you can say, oh, I want to get into this course book or whatever. And let me go back over here. And then here's our course book, and you can go into any of the books. So like the security course. Originally, when we did the security course, we did all the blue team stuff, right? So the blue team side of it was, protecting the systems, building a secure system, securing the network, letting users on it, doing bastions and air gaps, which are how we allow people into the environment here, updating the systems, and then monitoring and alerting, and then like drift configuration, like keeping people from doing weird shit in our environment and not keeping everything the same. And then we did like certificate and key madness, and then we did like a little final project. But those courses are all free, right? These are all out there. Some of you guys that have been around know. You can just go out. You can look at any of them. Let's go course overview syllabus. If you wanted to get into any of those are all free, and there's recordings for all of those as well. Now we've done that with almost all of the automation course. We just never. This is why I'm going through and finishing the labs, is because we finished it. I never built all the labs out for it. So yeah. So anyways, yeah, hammer time was kind of funny. All right. Oh, whoops. I guess we can just leave it on the syllabus. And I always build a syllabus because, I've been a college professor for a long time. So these are the things that when we're done, I would want you to know how to do in that course, right? These are the things that you would be able to build and do. Oh, this is the automation course. Yeah, this is automation course. Hold on. I was doing security. I wanted security course overview. Syllabus. This is what I would want you to know how to do after you went through the security engineering course, right? Like these are the things that we taught on, and these were the things you could put on a resume that you know how to do, right? And that's how all my stuff is. So if you guys ever join there's a Discord, right? I'll put it over here. And I haven't been hammering as much today, but I normally tell you guys, there's this Discord, there's this place that you guys can go and kind of hang out with other engineers that are doing the same type of things that you are either doing or want to get into. And, I tell you guys all the time, I think anybody can do this stuff. You just got to go spend time and get into it. So, yeah. All right. Let's see if the wife is heading back yet. Also, shoot, I've been talking for over 2 hours. It's a long stream. long stream for me recently. I used to do long streams all the time, but I've been busy and I should be working on my dissertation right now, but I'm hanging out with you guys, so yeah, there's a little merch shop thing. But mostly how's our environment doing? Yeah, we're doing fine over there. I don't know why that got so small. Yeah, there's our nodes. This is how the nodes are doing that you see in the other over here. So this is all the nodes. This is our infrastructure nodes, kind of the infra environment, and then these are the lab node environment. So I have the environment split so I can keep an eye on them separately. These are just what we call like heads up display, right? HUDs. And then this is all the users that are trying to log into our server day in and day out through our bastion, and they typically don't get in. But even if they do get in, it's then just funny because then we can just watch what they do in the environment, and it's inert because it's a jailed environment. So that's kind of fun to watch them try to drop payloads and stuff. Because, you know, they're locked in. There's no functionality in the shell that they get into. So there's that. All right. Well, maybe I'll call it a day here. You guys are always welcome to hang out in the Discord, right? And Linux Dev, I'll look you up here in a second. I'll look up the message here when we're done. But main user uses Dev. Yeah, that's funny. I'm almost always root everywhere I go, but I do sometimes hop in as different users to see how the users see things, because I'm responsible on my program for all the user training, so I do a lot of things as users in an environment. But mainly that's just to see like what disgusting living habits the users have. Well, that's terrible, but it's actually kind of true. Oh yeah, that's in the last 6 hours right here. This right here, that's the last 6 hours. That's probably high for us. That is a few thousand right there in the last 6 hours. Yeah. That's at least a few thousand. Maybe, yeah, that's a lot right there. Wow, look at that. I'm just scrolling up and down. I can actually go count them. Hold on. I can show you guys. This is what it looks like here. Let's do a status on SSHD. Total failed 72,000 some change. Currently banned 19. Total banned 473. But that 473 IPs that are banned right now, I've modified this. I used to just ban you forever, and those always went up, and we had hundreds of thousands of banned IPs at one point, but we've reset it because I went to a newer system, and I just let it. I said, fuck it, we'll just see what happens. And that 473 is only in the last 4 hours because I do let IPs come back, whereas I never used to do that. CrowdSec works slightly better. I've never even tried CrowdSec. I don't even know what that is. And then you got to remember, everything I do is also layered, right? So that's only part of it. Is this it's open source? Let me see what's going on here. You got a community block list. Okay. But I want to see. Let's pull this out so it doesn't rotate with the rest of the rotating stuff. I'll move it over here. We'll check out what's going on. Yeah, I haven't played with any other tools. I've just always used fail to ban. You got to remember too. We're a little bit of a honeypot though. We kind of want it would be only so fun if we just blocked everything, right? We kind of treat the environment like a honeypot. We kind of let, in fact, I had a thing for a while there. My original dissertation was going to just be on tracking everything that comes in and all the payloads that were coming, and then just tracking them and enumerating them and stuff. But we were calling that project like dungeoning, where we just drop you in a little dungeon, and then when it's all done, we destroy the dungeon, your whole environment. You get just dropped in, and you can do whatever you want in there. Drop your payload, do whatever. We just track all of the system calls you're doing, and then when you're done, we just zipper you out of the environment and go, okay, next, right? And then after a while, we would block it because we'd have enough information from your IP or whatever. But this stream will be on VOD. Yeah. This will always be over on YouTube. So this one will stay over on YouTube for sure. I think the VOD on Twitch will be for 60 days or something like that. But yeah, this will be around. We weren't really doing, I mean, we were doing the automation unit 11 lab, and we put that all together. But like when I actually do the recording for the lab, I'll walk through everything. We'll talk through it. We'll look through the course and everything, and then we'll actually do the lab together. So that'll be like our normal thing. Yeah. You probably didn't miss too much. We were just kind of hanging out and talking through stuff. The wife was cutting family members' hair downstairs when I started, and I had just gotten back from jiu-jitsu, which is why my hands hurt as much as they do. And then she went to take, one of her friends needed lunch and groceries, so she was going to go take her some lunch and groceries. And like, she's an elderly lady, so she needs some help. So the wife went to help her, and then she was going to bring me back lunch. So I was like, this benefits her, and it benefits me. Just kidding. But then I think the wife and I are going to hang out. We need to find something to watch, but I don't think we're going to go to a movie theater. Although I've been trying to get her to go see a horror movie with me, but she's been pushing back a little bit. I wanted to go see Backrooms because I'm familiar with the YouTube stuff. I wanted to see if the movie was any good. But I've seen Obsession. We went and saw Obsession the week before, I think. Was it Memorial Day? I think that sounds right. So we saw that, and I have that on Amazon Prime now. So I've watched that a couple more times since then. But that wasn't a bad movie. If you guys want to see a decent horror that's like, the reason I liked it is like, it doesn't leave the theater with you. And you say, what do you mean? Well, like in a slasher or something, you're like, somebody could come slash me, and then you're scared or whatever, right? But that movie, like all the situations in Obsession, they kind of cause themselves. So you're not like, whoa, I hope I don't do this stupid thing that causes this stupid thing to happen to me, right? Like, you're probably not going to be doing that yourself. So to me, it's like, that's not really scary then, right? Like, oh yeah, it was a scary situation for the fuckers in the theater for sure, but it wasn't scary for me. Like when I leave the theater, I'm like, oh, that sucked to be them. But it's the same thing like in outer space type thing, that kind of stuff. But anyways, the point is, me and the wife have to figure out what we're gonna go do, that kind of stuff. Netflix now has redone Lawrence of Arabia 3.5 hours. I tried to watch Lawrence of Arabia when I was younger. I think I made it like 20 minutes into that movie, and they were trying to find water in the desert, and like they were crawling up to this thing, and I was like, I've never finished it, man. But honestly, you know what? I mean, it's funny because like the wife always says that I just call movies bad all the time, and then I never, she said I need to start quantifying like why they're bad. Well, I just never finished Lawrence of Arabia. I'm sure it's fine, but I've never finished The Godfather either. I've never made it more than like 5 minutes into The Godfather before I was just like, what the fuck is this movie? And I turn it off. And there's been some other movies that are like that too, that people get really mad when I tell them. Reservoir Dogs. I tried to watch Reservoir Dogs over the course of like 20 years. Never finished it until just recently. Probably about 2 years ago, I finally finished Reservoir Dogs, and I was like, I don't get what everybody was talking. Whatever. Reservoir Dogs, fine, whatever. So, yeah, Zeraprod, thanks for becoming a member of the channel. I don't even know what that means on YouTube, but hopefully that's useful to you. Hopefully all this stuff's useful to you guys. We're just kind of hanging out right now. What we did was we built a lab out. If you guys are like, what's Scott doing here? Because I'm always doing some kind of shenanigans, but we built out this lab 11 for updating and patching systems, and we did it with a more modern tool called Werewolf. So we were playing with a tool called Werewolf, and it's just like update and patch systems. And then what we did was we installed Werewolf on the system, pulled down an image, went in there to make sure that we could modify it if we wanted to, and then we backed away and said, no, let's not do it that way, because that way is very tedious. Like, I don't want to go, guys. I don't want to go to 1,000 different servers and type in DNF update. That sounds like a nightmare. Like that, I could see that legitimately being a nightmare for like somebody that's done sysadmin work. No, what I want to do is like Ansible push it into the environment. So that's what we did, was we used Ansible and we just pushed it in there. So, I couldn't get into The Godfather. I don't know what it is. Maybe if I had sat in a theater with it but it's been around. Shit, I was born in '81. It's been around much longer than me. Lawrence of Arabia, I don't know. I made it about 20 minutes into that movie and I just turned it off. So I'll give it a shot one of these days. And I feel bad because it's like I had those opinions well before the Family Guy thing ever came out. But have you guys ever seen the Family Guy when he's like, it insists on itself? No, you know what? So 2001, you're talking about Space Odyssey. That one is perfectly fine for me. However, let me back up. It is very slow to our like current taste. Like if you guys like, man, look, go on a phone and look at how short humans' attention spans are right now. Most people, you have to hook them in like on a Kick or a TikTok or whatever in like the first 10 seconds, or they just go somewhere else, right? Well, where I'm going with that was 2001 was fine. I watched that and I was like, this is a bit slow. And I probably watched in the late 90s, early 2000s. But I've heard of a theory, or I've heard of a method that people, and I think this probably would work better for most people, is to just speed up 2001 Space Odyssey to like 4 times. Because there's some things where it's like where they're docking the station where you're like, all right, I've seen that before, right? I don't need to watch that for 20 minutes or however long that scene takes. So anyways, that's my thoughts on that. But that's probably true for a lot of movies. Yeah, I'd just tell you, like, there was a funny movie. It wasn't meant to be funny. But I had never seen this movie before. I had never even heard about it. It popped up on Netflix the other day. It's called True Romance. So I watched this movie and I'm like, what the F is this movie? Then I find out it was written back in the 90s and it came out in 93 by Quentin Tarantino. I get to the end of this movie and I don't want to spoil anything for you guys if you haven't seen True Romance from 1993, but feel free to go watch it. It's on Netflix. There's a shootout at the end of that movie where there's some guys trying to buy cocaine, so they got their bodyguards. There's all the police bust in, and then the mafia members that were coming and looking for their drugs all bust in the room together. Well, and I'm watching this going, I know what this is. So I know what's come from this. There's a show called The Boondocks, which came out much later in the early 2000s. And in the show The Boondocks, they did that scene. And I was like, that's where they got that from. But then there's also a show called Frisky Dingo, where there's a guy who's laying there bleeding out, and he's like, call me an ambulance. And the guy's like, I'll call you a hearse. This is for Cody. And he shoots the guy, and then Cody's fine, so he throws the gun to Cody, and Cody goes to prison. That scene, and I've been making fun of that scene forever from Frisky Dingo, that's also from that movie. So it's kind of funny where you go find something you didn't even know exists, and it's like, it zippers down like 10 different references that you've used in your life. So it's kind of funny. You know what? It's funny you say that. I've seen a few episodes of The Wire, but wasn't The Wire on like HBO? And like I was way too poor when I was younger to watch The Wire. We didn't have cable. But I think wasn't The Wire was definitely on cable, but I think it was an HBO thing, didn't it? No, 2001 was fine. It's just some of the scenes are kind of slow. There's renewed interest in the Forbin project having to do with AI. It's from the late 60s, I believe, but just now getting relevant. Interesting. That's interesting. You probably hate the Soviet movie called Stalker. I don't think I've ever seen Stalker. It's actually funny. There's like a list of movies floating around on the Discord that I like kind of make people watch if they want to kind of get all my references. There's a few of them. Like one of them is I always tell people like Princess Bride, because I quote that stupid movie all the time, and I think that movie's great, but it's definitely got a lot of stupid stuff in it, but it's hilarious. So I quote that one all the time. The 13th Warrior is one that I quote a lot because 13th Warrior like kind of really does a good job of enumerating how you learn a language from people, and like he's just sitting there learning the language as he goes to fight these. They call them they call them the Fire Snake, but they're also the Death Eaters. The book is actually called the Death Eaters. So I use that one a lot, and that's a fantastic movie. That movie did not do well in theaters, but that movie has absolutely stood the test of time. If you ever go watch that, HBO Baltimore and the Cracked. Yeah. That's what I thought The Wire. I've heard The Wire is really good. I've only seen some episodes of it, so I never got deep into The Wire for sure. Other movies I make people watch all. Oh, well, a newer one that I think does a really good job is if you guys ever see Project Hail Mary when they're doing the language between the two of them. That was a fantastic scene for like how you would figure out a language if you didn't know a language from somebody else, and then you start to kind of get one word here, one word there, and then you start to learn. That's how they do it in the 13th Warrior. He's just sitting there listening to the guys talk as they're traveling to this place where they're about to have some really big sword fights and fucking just battles, just killing everybody. And he gets all the way over there, and as he's listening to the people, he starts hearing a word here and there. And that's what I always use that as an example of how it is with engineers. You just go sit with the engineers. You hang out in people, where people are talking, the type of engineering you want to get into. And eventually you're going to learn something. I mean, if you're not going to learn something after sitting and listening with the engineers, then maybe that's not the field you want to go into. I don't know. But I think that if you kind of hang out with these people and do this stuff, you'll get in there. No, but actually, I am always open. If you guys go on the Discord and like you go to movie shows, I'm always looking for movies and shows to watch, right? Like I'm always looking for more stuff. But I don't have HBO. I probably should get HBO one of these days. Look, all of my brothers have seen the Game of Thrones, and they've all told me to watch it. I just haven't gotten around to watching it, right? And I realize it's like years and years later now. But I watched the original season of it up until the dude. I'm not going to spoil anything for people, but people die in that movie. Or in that show, and at the end of the first season, a guy died. That I was like, well, he's the whole reason I was watching this show. He's a dude he's from another movie that was really popular, and I'm like, why am I even watching this anymore? And then I moved, and I just never got back into watching. So I have watched the first season of Game of Thrones. I've never watched any of the other ones. So, all right, I'll probably call it here. We're just mostly bullshitting right now, looking at what's going on in the lab and stuff. Oh, you can get Project Hail Mary on Prime right now. I bought it on Prime the second or third weekend it came out. They put it on Prime. Yeah, they're gonna probably do the Artemis one as well, which is one of his other movies. Yeah. I mean, if you want to watch it on Prime, I think it's like $20 or something. But yeah, me and the wife did date night with it a while back. She just read the book, and then she was like comparing all the things where the book is different. So. Funny enough, I could tell you guys all the place where the book is different from the movie because she had literally just finished it. But I'll probably read the book one of these days. I don't do. I know everybody I know. You can do a free trial of MGM and watch it. Nice. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty fun one. And I didn't know anything about it, and I don't want to spoil anything for it. But there's some really great things in that movie, and there's some really really dark, effed up, like super messed up things in that movie that happen. So. Oh, I know about the red wedding scene. No, trust me. Even though I wasn't keeping up on it, like society and memes and stuff kind of have taught me. That's another thing too, Kevin. Like I get to a point where I've never seen the movie Sixth Sense. And you say, why have you never seen the Sixth Sense? That came out in like 99 or isn't 99 like when I graduated high school in 99? Isn't that like right in your yep, somebody fucking spoiled it for me. Never watch. I'm never gonna watch that movie. They spoiled it, I'm never gonna watch it. Also, I knew the ending of Fight Club. I don't like Fight Club because I knew what was going on. So like it ruins movies for me, which is one of the reasons you guys will never hear me purposely spoil anything. Because if I'm telling you, like if I hear something or whatever, I'm just like, okay. Or if I know somebody's at the end of something, and I'm like, okay, all right. I mean, there's no terror there if like I know you're at the end of it. Like, all right. So anyway, so I try not to like. I try not to watch too many trailers of things too, because they give so much crap away in trailers. So, anyways, yeah, that's the thing. Well, like, why would you even watch it if somebody already told you? And maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just being cynical. I am pretty cynical though. I think that's true of most engineers. But yeah, like because I knew what was going to happen. I watched the Fight Club, but I've never seen it twice. I'm like, whatever. But again, yeah, people ruined it for me. All right. Let's go to oh, look, I have all these different end of stream things, right? I got this little one that's kind of fun. But I appreciate everybody coming by. I will be on throughout this week, and then I'm going on vacation for a little bit. So I'll probably be kind of on sparsely through the middle of July. But then at the end of July, I'll be hanging around with you guys back on. I'm I'm gonna be working a lot on a high performance compute course, so you might see me working on that tomorrow on stream. I'm working on that for work, and then yeah, cynicism is a prerequisite. Yeah, for engineering, I agree, for sure on that. But all right, I appreciate everybody coming by. I will see you guys later on in the week. Take care. Oh, and have a good 4th of July too, if I didn't already say that to some of you guys. Yeah, that's a fair one, Kevin. Yeah, for sure. If they have too many supernatural elements, yeah. It's something if you, especially if you know, suspending disbelief can trouble people as well, for sure. All right, we'll talk later. Take care, guys. Edel, appreciate that. Still got